All right, so I watched episode 7 of The Acolyte. It was the penultimate episode, and it was pretty good. Like, I actually enjoyed watching it, although after watching it, I am very much not really sure where it's going in episode 8. I don't know. So, here's the thing. This episode was basically episode 3, but from the Jedi's point of view. And I think it did a pretty interesting job of like making the Jedi not seem like evil assholes, which, by the way, I didn't even necessarily think that they were evil assholes in the third episode, but I remember like a lot of people were like really mad because they felt like the Acolyte was portraying the Jedi as the bad guys and that the witches or whatever were the good guys. And even in episode 3, I was like, what are you guys talking about? Like the main thing that you could, I guess, say that was making the Jedi seem like assholes were when they were trying to take the kids. And I remember feeling like I feel like the prequels also did that. Did people really like watch the Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon takes Anakin away from his mom and leaves her to a life of slavery? If you want to watch, I did a video where I reacted to a Jeremy Jahns review, and and that was like one of his main criticisms, and I was just like, was it not like the entire point of the prequel trilogy that the Jedi being cringe and that leading to Anakin's like eventual downfall? Like, was the prequel trilogy not a critique of the Jedi? I remember feeling that way. So like, I didn't really understand why people were so upset with episode 3, but this episode now like really like hammers home that the Jedi, like the show isn't trying to like portray the Jedi as a bad guy, as bad people. In fact, like they kind of show things that they saw that made them think that the kids were in danger, and they and Soul especially like sensed that May and Osha were in danger, or I guess Osha was in danger. And they also, like, there was a line from May where she was like, yeah, we're supposed to be sacrificed. I don't really know what that means. And I guess it's still a mystery. We don't know exactly what was going to happen with them in this weird witch cult. So I don't know. I think they did a decent job of, I guess, allaying the concerns that at least although it's obviously this was done in advance, so it's not like it was done in response to them. So I thought all of that point, I found all of that stuff interesting. The action again is pretty cool. You know, I still think that the lightsaber fights in this are cool. I really liked when they were fighting the Wookiee. It's pretty brutal that like the Wookiee was like smushing receding hairline into the wall. I'm assuming with like the pressure of like a fucking bear squeezing on your head, I assume that's what that felt like. Like if you've ever seen a video of a bear like eating a watermelon, the way that they like very gently like fucking smush a watermelon like that honestly looked kind of horrifying. So that was a fun fight. I guess I do have two pretty major criticisms. I would say the first one, receding hairline. Like, I'll say this. Like, I think they did a good job of making the Jedi not seem like assholes, but receding hairline guy is a bit too much like an idiot. Like, I didn't even really understand what his problem was. Like, he was literally just like, I don't want to be here on this planet anymore. This planet is boring. I don't want to be on here anymore. Wah, 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 wah. And it's like, but okay, but it's like, okay, I guess I get that. But then at the end of the episode, when they find out that the girls were like virgins, or I'm sorry, they're a part of the virgins, whatever the fuck. He starts like running off to the base. He's like, yes, this is our ticket back to Coruscant or whatever. But it's like, what were you gonna do? I don't even know what his plan was. So that was just really weird and poorly handled. Also at the end, when Soul is, and they kind of, because I guess I'm trying to remember. I think back in episode 3, it very much looked like it very much looked like Soul just let May drop. And technically he does, right? Like he's holding up both of the scaffolding or whatever. And he realizes that he can't hold them both up. So bro is like, you didn't take my test seriously? I guess I'm not gonna take saving you seriously. Drop. All right, Osha, I got you. When could he not have just like force picked up both children? I feel like he could have just done that, right? I'm not misunderstanding the force, right? I think he could have just done that. So that was kind of poorly handled, I thought. But yeah, so I guess the thing that they feel guilty about would be, so yeah, now sorry, what am I saying? Soul feels guilty because he let Osha die. So that's what he feels guilty about. I'm trying to remember, what exactly does receding hairline feel guilty about in the present day that's causing him to like meditate? Is it because I guess his insolence or his impatience or whatever got May killed? And technically got the witches killed? That's what it kind of feels like. Although not really, because it was still May that ultimately blew everybody up. You know what I mean? Like, even though she didn't mean to, or she was going to, but then she backed off. Yeah, I'm actually not sure what receding hairline guy is so guilty about, now that I think about it. I mean, I guess he would still feel guilty overall. I'm guessing. Or maybe because he started the fight, then they all, like, went inside of the thing to do the weird witch chant to take over the Wookiee's mind, and then they all died. Maybe he just feels guilty about the whole situation. I mean, it wouldn't make sense. Like, you would still feel guilt about the situation, even if logically, like, if you really try and play like semantics and try to figure out, well, who exactly started and when, like, overall it's a human emotion to just feel guilty about the situation. So I guess I understand that. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed the episode, but overall, at the end of the day, the one problem that this show has, I guess, is that in the next episode, like we're gonna get some kind of culmination of the villains of like the Sith guy, or maybe not Sith guy, of like his storyline, but it's like we don't know who that guy is. So like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what? It feels like there should be like a couple more episodes. I mean, I guess maybe this is really just a story about Soul and Osha and May, around like these three characters ultimately at the end of the day, and the Sith isn't necessarily as important to that central storyline. But I guess I would still hold the same criticism that they still haven't done enough to get me to care enough about Osha and May and Soul and their relationship to ultimately say that this story is compelling, is like super compelling. I guess that would still be my main criticism that I mentioned last week. Which, yeah, like, it's still weird to me that they just didn't show any like flashbacks to Soul and Osha training, like, to get us to care about that relationship. They've literally only shown us like the very, very beginning and the very, very end. And I really don't think they did enough to make me care about Soul and Osha's relationship. So I think this is still ultimately the problem with the show. Like, again, and just to clarify, I think that it is okay, right? Like, I still think that it's like not great, but it's also not egregiously bad in my opinion, right? So yeah, like my ultimate criticism of all of this is that it's the characters, man. You got to make people care about the characters, and I don't think the show is doing it enough so far. But overall, I enjoyed this episode, like in a vacuum. But as the penultimate episode, I am just left wondering, like, what all of this is leading to is I don't think it's ultimately going to be satisfying. But we'll see. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.